Hi, my name is LeeRoy. I'm currently employed with the Salvation Army ARC in Minneapolis. The status of my life before I came through this program was one of addiction, hopelessness, a lot of self-hatred. I had been released from doing a 3-year prison sentence and had nowhere to go. My probation officer, parole officer at the time, suggested that I come here to the ARC's 6-month Adult Rehabilitation Center program. And due to the fact that I had nowhere else to go, we thought that was the best plan for me. Circumstances that brought me to my situation in life was just a lot of drug addiction. I was an alcoholic. I also was a meth addict for a number of years. Had one failed marriage. Had a son I abandoned at an early age. And just through the way that I felt about myself, I started acting out in very destructive and inappropriate ways, and ended up, after several DUIs and felony assault, getting sentenced to 3 years in prison. My initial experience at the ARC, while I was in prison, I couldn't no longer deal with the pain that I felt inside. So I started calling out to God. I didn't understand anything about God. I knew there was a God, didn't know who He was. Just knew that I needed to find an escape from the pain that I felt. And since I no longer could medicate that pain with drugs and alcohol, I was at a point where I figured I would try anything. Initially coming to the ARC, my concern in life was just having a place to go and not being homeless. I wanted to be in a safe, sober environment. Due to the fact that I had just been released from prison, I did have a couple years clean. Obviously, if you want to use while incarcerated, it's easily available. As I was saying before, early on in my prison sentence, I cried out to God looking for relief of the pain I was feeling. And again, God moved quickly and boldly in my life. So I feel that during my time in prison, I used my time wisely. I started learning about God and who He is. I tried to surround myself with some godly men, people that were activated in prison ministry, in church functions, other inmates that were just there trying to do the right thing and get their lives together. So initially coming into the ARC, I had already established a relationship with God. Still a new baby Christian, still struggled with believing that God would forgive me for the things that I had done, still struggled on and off with having faith in the fact that God loved me and He would provide for me. Struggled with the fact that I was truly saved and my sins were forgiven, so on and so forth. Initially coming into the ARC, what it did for me was it just gave me some stability. I knew I had a place to stay, and I knew I had a place to stay long term. For me, 6 months to a year was long term. Also initially coming into the ARC, I realized that there were good godly people who were genuinely taking an interest in my life, and my well-being, and my growth. I found a mentor at the ARC who stuck with me through my program, past my graduation on the program. I think parts of the program that were very helpful to me was obviously the spirituality aspect of it. I needed more knowledge about God. I needed to be fed. I needed to take that knowledge and turn that into a belief and a faith system for myself. And for me, how that happened was to be repeatedly told God's promise and love that He has for me. Like I said earlier, I had a mentor who stuck with me through the program, and after the program, that was a big help for me. Just somebody who I knew was invested in my life and my well-being. I was hired on by the Salvation Army a short time after completion of the program. I've been here now for 6 years. So what God has done for me in my life through the Salvation Army, I can't even really put it into words. I mean, he gave me a home at a time through the Salvation Army. He's given me the means to provide for myself through the Salvation Army. Through my growth and maturity, he's given me an opportunity to give back to others, to minister to his other sons who he's brought to salvation. My first job here at the ARC was brick rack supervisor. That's down in the warehouse, sorting household goods, preparing them to be shipped out to stores for sale. Did that for a short amount of time, and then I was offered a houseman position. Houseman resident managers work up in the house with the men going through the program. We do intakes, make sure that house rules are being followed, deal with disciplinary issues when they arise, and just really hang out a lot with the guys, be there for them, be an ear for them to come to, any concerns or questions that they might have. We do the drug screening of the gentlemen in our program, a lot of security stuff, just making sure that the house is safe for the men that are here. I was houseman for a year, and I became the resident manager, which is the lead houseman. I did that for 2 years. I became the intake coordinator. That's dealing a lot with probation officers, the public, screening phone calls for new intakes, getting guys into the program, getting them signed up for state health care and EBT support, just doing general intake, bookkeeping stuff, everything that has to do with the files on our guys, and anything that has to do with making sure that they have what they need while going through the program. Did that for about a year, and then I became resident manager again. After that, I was offered a director of transportation job in charge of the truck fleet. From there, I became the warehouse manager, and that is my current position here at the ARC. I've been doing that for about a year, and I'm in charge of all warehouse personnel, truck fleet, and just making sure everything goes smooth for the guys doing their work therapy. I am currently 7 years and some odd months into my sobriety. If you were to ask me, I would tell you I have 8 years. My sobriety date is July 3rd of 2003. But July 4th of every year, I claim the next year that I'm on as my victory. So I have 8 years sobriety. My message of hope for anybody considering turning their life over to the care of God and coming to our program is, it doesn't matter what you feel about yourself. God loves you. God created you to be one of a kind. God has plans for you before you ever even were created. God knew the plans He had for you, and only for you. The thing with God is, He does it in His time. So be patient with yourself. Allow the Lord to change your heart and your mind. Your responsibility with God is you talk to Him every day, and you're honest with Him. Regardless of how you feel about God or how you feel about yourself, your job is to just communicate with Him and tell Him honestly what's in your heart, and He will take care of the rest. God bless. Talk to me through His Word, through other people, through my cell phone. Excuse me, because God is actually calling me right now. That red light ain't helpful. All right, I'm ready.
I just need you to hear me say and watch me so you'll see I mean it when I say